It's 2 a.m. and you're staring at the ceiling. Your phone is face down beside you. Your mind is replaying a conversation from 4 years ago for no reason at all. You assume something is wrong with you, but the real answer is far stranger. You weren't built to sleep the way you think you were. For most of your life, you've heard the same rule. 8 hours, unbroken, lights off, eyes closed, one long block of darkness until morning. If you don't get that, you call it insomnia. But your ancestors never slept like that, and they weren't broken either. In the early 2000s, historian Roger E. Kirch combed through old court records, diaries, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe. He kept finding the same strange phrase. People wrote about their first sleep, and then their second sleep. Between the two was a quiet stretch of waking time, sometimes an hour or more, that nobody treated as unusual. An entire continent, for hundreds of years, woke up in the middle of the night on purpose. Not from stress, not from a screen. It was just what night looked like. During that gap, people tended the fire, talked quietly, prayed, or simply lay in the dark and thought, the way you do now, except without the shame attached to it. The watching hour, some called it. Sleep scientist Jerome Siegel at UCLA spent years recording sleep in 3 groups with no artificial lighting: the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, the Simane of Bolivia. 3 continents, 3 unrelated cultures, no contact with each other for thousands of years. And yet their nights followed the same shape. Sleep after dark, a brief midnight waking, then sleep again until sunrise. Almost none of them described anything resembling modern insomnia. The body wasn't fighting itself. It was doing exactly what it had always done. So why does it feel so wrong to you now? Because light rewired the rules. Once cheap electric light arrived in the late 1800s, nights stopped being long stretches of darkness with a built-in pause. Sleep compressed into one unbroken block, because that's all the modern schedule allowed. Factories needed workers at 6, trains needed to run on time, schools needed children seated by 8. The watching hour got squeezed out, treated as wasted time, then eventually as a malfunction. Harvard circadian researcher Charles Chisler has shown that even small amounts of artificial light late at night delay melatonin release, nudging your internal clock later without you realizing it. Over years, it's a slow cumulative drift, going to bed later, waking later, fighting the alarm, never quite syncing with natural daylight. And now you carry a small rectangle of blue light into bed every night, and your brain, still running on instructions written hundreds of thousands of years ago, reads that glow as daylight and tells your body to stay alert. When you wake at 2 a.m. alone in a silent room, your brain doesn't know it's allowed to simply exist in that space. It panics. It starts calculating remaining sleep hours, treating the gap as an emergency. Anthropologist Carol Worthman found that in societies where people sleep in shared spaces, waking in the night isn't frightening. It's social. Someone else is always stirring. The isolation that makes your 2 a.m. feel so unbearable is a modern invention, not a biological one. Here's the twist. The thing you've been calling a disorder might be the most natural part of your night. The problem was never the waking. The problem is what you do with it, and how alone you feel while doing it. Your body is moving through 90-minute sleep cycles all night, naturally surfacing near each boundary. Most of those tiny wakings last seconds and vanish by morning. The version that becomes a problem is when your mind catches on something, a worry, a sound, and the ancient mechanism collides with a modern mind that has been told this moment is an emergency. The fear of the gap is the problem. The gap itself never was. People in the watching hour weren't anxious. They used it. Quiet conversation, mending a tool, letting the mind wander through half-remembered dreams. What if instead of reaching for your phone, you let the waking simply be what it's always been? A pause. Not a crisis, not a malfunction. Just the oldest part of your brain doing a routine check before letting you drift back under. The 2 a.m. wakefulness that feels so isolating connects you backward through every culture E. Kirch found in dusty archives, every forager society Siegel recorded, every shared sleeping space Worthman studied. It connects you to a version of being human that existed long before alarm clocks or sleep trackers. The waking itself is ancient. The fear wrapped around it is new. So tonight, when you wake and your mind starts replaying a memory from 4 years ago, Try not to reach for your phone. Try not to call it broken. Somewhere in the oldest part of your brain, a fire is still burning low, and you're simply doing what humans have always done in the dark, waiting quietly for the second sleep to come.